Hey guys, Chris from Hockey Tutorial here, and today in this one, this is probably the most excited I've been about an old versus new video with the FT4 Pros, VSing them against the brand new FT6 Pros. The reason for that is because normally when manufacturers release new products, the changes are just a little bit incremental from what we saw from the previous generation, but that's just not the case with what CCM has done here. The brand new FT6 Pros don't just look different in terms of some graphical changes to make them look more modern and, in my opinion, better. Let me know if you agree with that down below in the comments. But this is essentially a brand new skate construction, and I'm really excited to explain the differences between these new brand new skates and what we saw previously with the FT4 Pros. Let's jump into it. Now, this being a completely new skate construction, there's going to be a lot of changes in this video, so before we jump in, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, because a bunch of you that watch our videos and come back aren't subscribed, so make sure you subscribe because it really does help the channel grow. But more importantly, give the video a like, comment down below with which one you like the design of better, and of course, before we jump in, grab yourselves a drink and a snack because there's going to be a lot for us to kind of break down with these two boots. But let's jump in. Now, as always guys, starting off at the base of the skate, working our way upwards. When we look at the FT4 Pros over here, these were featuring CCM's black step steel blades, which are the most premium runners that you can get from CCM. These are that DLC coated blade that has numerous benefits that you guys have seen me rant and rave on the channel numerous times about. That improved or increased edge retention, the durability that these runners have, the insane look that they have, the glide that they have. They're just all-round better performing blades than what you would get with just standard stainless steel runners. When we look at the brand new FT6 Pros from CCM, these are featuring the exact same runners. There's no changes there, still featuring steps, black runners from CCM, so no major changes over there. Now, as we work our way upwards, both of these skates feature the XS holders, which was that holder that has the dial that is completely toolless, that allows you to switch out your steel really quickly if you need to. Both of these skates are featuring the exact same holders. The only difference really that you can spot with the previous XS holder that we see on the FT4 Pros and the brand new holder that we see on the FT6 Pros is going to be that the dial is just a little bit bigger. To be specific, 136% bigger. That essentially just provides you with more surface area to hold onto. So when you're scrolling, if you don't have the hands of a 12-year-old boy like me, if you have bigger hands or smaller hands, it's just an easier dial to be able to rotate to get the blade to pop out when you need to, and also to be able to fasten it back up. It also features a little bit more of a tactile surface, which is just a lot easier to hold onto, especially if you're perhaps playing outdoors and you've got like some nice gloves on to keep your hands warm, or if you buy the rink boards, you've got some thin gloves on to keep your hands warm. You can still operate the dial, which is quite a nice touch for equipment managers or just people that have to switch out runners very often while they're next to the rink. Now, as we move up into the quarter package or the one-piece shell of these skates, now this being CCM skates, of course they feature CCM's one-piece boot construction. In this case, it's the one-piece boot speed, because these skate ranges being Jetspeed are targeted at that fast, agile, quick skater. Now, when we look at the one-piece shell featured on the FT4 Pros, the benefits of the one-piece shell was eliminating that outsole. So there's literally no outsole on the bottom of these skates, no glues, clips, pins, and outsole itself, being that extra bit of material connecting to the boot and then the holder connecting to that. Just nice and clean, holder connected directly to the body of the skate. Now, when we look at this particular one-piece boot construction, what we were seeing on the FT4 Pros was just a very clean, very minimalistic design. It didn't have any facing materials along the eyelets over here. You can see that there's no synthetic leathers. Essentially a very stripped down version of what we would see on previous iterations of the one-piece boot from CCM. Now, that was geared towards performance, lightweight, and I feel like they did a pretty good job achieving that with this construction here. In addition to this, the quarter package or the one-piece shell on the FT4 Pros had a stiffness index rating of 195. Now, if you don't know what the stiffness index is, it's a rating system that CCM have to be able to determine the stiffness of the boots that they have. Now, just for reference, the ASV Pro, which are the tax range of skates also top spec, are aimed at a power type of player. The stiffness of those skates was 215. Now, when we move over onto the FT6 Pros, the stiffness index on these skates is 215. So that's going to be one of the major upgrades that we see with the one-piece shell on the FT6 Pros versus what we see on the FT4 Pros. This is going to be a stiffer boot construction. Now, in addition to this, if we look at the body of the one-piece shell, you can see that the facing materials are actually reintroduced on the FT6 Pros. Now, there could be a lot of reasons for this. I kind of feel personally that it makes the skate look more premium, but that's my opinion. And the way that the logo is displayed on the FT6 Pros, it's not sublimated into the body of the one-piece shell like we saw on the FT4 Pros. It's attached onto the actual synthetic leathers and plastics at the top of the skate. I think that looks nice, but there might also be some benefits in terms of durability of the one-piece shell itself. But also, one of the reasons I suspect that this has been added is to help to benefit the game-ready fit that these skates come with. Now, the best way I can explain that is if I turn the skate to face you guys, the actual top of the skate really wraps over the top of your foot. This is what CCM refer to as the game ready fit. Now this comes like this directly out of the box. If I turn the FT4 Pros right over so you can see what those look like, you can see the FT6 Pros just have a much more wrapped, much more anatomical, much more snug fit directly out of the box, and both of these skates are brand new out the box. So that's one of the benefits that you really do see immediately when you pick up this skate and you put it on with the FT6 Pros versus the FT4 Pros. And also, before I forget, CCM have definitely been a little bit more heavy with the carbon while constructing the one-piece shell for the FT6 Pros versus what we see in the FT4 Pros. So essentially more carbon in the brand new skates. Now, in addition to this, some of the other changes that I've noticed messing around with these skates is going to be the fact that the vamping is also much wider and larger on the FT6 Pros. That's going to be this area of the skate over here that essentially comes into contact with the ice when you're turning sharply, aggressively on the ice. If you look at the FT4s, it's much more thin. There's a lot less of it than what we see on the FT6 Pros. Those are the kind of major upgrades that I've noticed with the body of the one-piece shells on both of these skates. Now, as we move slightly higher up into the body of the skate, something else that's been introduced on the FT6 Pros is that these skates have an asymmetrical boot cut. Now that essentially means that the inside of the skate, when we look at the FT4 Pros, if you looked top down, the body of the boot would look like this. And this being the inside of the skate, this being the outside. Now with the FT6 Pros, you actually have this kind of a shape. It's an asymmetrical boot cut, which essentially means the inside of the boot of the skate sits a little bit more forward than the outside of the skate. This essentially provides you with a greater surface to push off of while you're striding, turning, being aggressive on the ice with the way that you move around, your starts, your tight turns, your stops. All of that is really relying on having a surface to push off of being the inside of the body of the skate. This is not only going to help you to do that much more effectively and with a lot more power and explosiveness, but it's also going to allow you to have a little bit more stability on the ice as well. These skates are going to allow you to move much more comfortably, much more aggressively, but of course much more stable than what you would have with the FT4 Pros. Now, another massive difference with these two skates is going to be if we look at the tendon guards on both of them. First thing you're going to notice is the tendon guard it just sits a little bit higher on the FT6s than it does on the FT4 Pros. The FT4 Pros featured a stiff tendon completely fixed to the body of the skate. These didn't really flex at all, but when we look at the FT6 Pros versus the FT4s, this tendon is very, very flexible. This is CCM's Flex Motion tendon, and it also features carbon inserts on the rear of it just to help a little bit with durability, and also protection as well. But personally, I kind of feel like it just looks sick. That's probably why they did that instead of just using regular plastic. But they look good and they're flexible, and this is one of the major upgrades that is going to really, I feel, move a lot of people into the skate that might potentially be in other manufacturer skates or even in ASV or the tax range of skates from CCM as well. The flexible tendon was why I gravitated towards the ASVs rather than the ASV Pros, the model just below those, because of the flexible tendon. I have a much easier time skating in a tendon that gives me a little bit more flex than skating in a fixed tendon. This is a massive, massive welcomed upgrade. Now, what the flex tendon enables players to do is essentially improve their range of motion, allowing them to have a greater leg extension on the ice. This is going to benefit you not only with just your skating stride being much more efficient, but it's also going to help to increase your speed by giving you that full range of motion and greater extension during your strides. Now, from there, moving on to the tongues on both of these skates. The FT4 Pros had the replaceable or changeable metatomic tongue, which was 7mm thick, white felt, featured dense foams, pretty traditional tongue, nothing too special going on here. This tongue was an asymmetrical tongue, but what I did have with this personally with myself was sometimes the tongue would either slip too far left, too far right. Based on its shape, its thickness, its construction, it was quite hard to keep in the middle of the skate. Now, of course, this did have lace bite inserts as well to ensure that you had a little bit of comfort and protection from lace bite and also anything else that could happen on the ice, but it was quite a thin tongue. And with this particular tongue, this uses CCM's excess system or the tongue system where it's interchangeable. So if you didn't get on with this tongue, you could just replace it with a tongue that you liked from CCM, quickly popping it out of the skate, popping in a new one, which is exactly what I did. Now, with this tongue that we see on the FT6 Pros, it's something completely different. This is CCM's ADPT comfort tongue or adaptive comfort tongue. This particular construction over here is something that we've never seen from CCM. Even if you look at the lace bite protection and also the protection from stick slashes, pucks, shots on the ice, it's completely different to what we've ever seen from them before. But more importantly, the actual construction of the tongue itself in terms of the foams, the liners that's been used on this, the thickness of it, even the shape of it. It's not so heavy on the asymmetrical shape, but when you squeeze it, it's almost like squeezing a mattress or a pillow. It's very thick, nowhere near as kind of like flat and dense as this. The foams are dense, but dense like a mattress dense, not dense like squeezing on a bit of felt dense. It's really hard to explain on camera, but this is probably one of the most advanced tongues. Let me scratch that. This is the most advanced tongue that I've seen on a retail skate to date. I've never seen anything like this. On top of that, this is a brand new skate, by the way. If I just show you the range of motion that you get with this tongue is insane. Straight out of the box, even with the laces there, it's just so easy to flex it forward. It's difficult to imagine without actually putting the skates on and going for a skate, but this is by far the most impressive tongue I've ever seen from CCM. Now, in addition to this, the foams on the inside of this tongue are incredibly protective, incredibly soft, but dense at the same time. It's very difficult to explain, but I saw this skate a few months ago when CCM showed us a prototype of the FT6 Pros in Sweden, and I didn't think this tongue was going to make it to a retail level. I thought this was going to be some sort of add-on that you had to purchase separately, but I am so pleased to see that this is what has resulted on the retail skate that you guys can pick up, and this is the tongue that just comes default with these skates. It's not me hyping these skates up, but this is one of the most advanced tongues I've ever come across in my life. Big props to CCM. I feel like after all of the years of almost getting a tongue right on a pair of skates, they've absolutely hit it out the park with the FT6 Adaptive Comfort Tongue with flex motion. Now, in addition to this, the flex motion lace bite design enhances your ability to get over the toes of your skates, your forward flexion on the ice, while the construction of the tongue also keeps you protected while you're on the ice. Just overall, incredible tongue. Now from there, looking at the liners of both of these two skates, when we look at the FT4 Pros, the liner inside these skates was CCM's Total Dry Pro Plus liners. They were pretty soft to the touch. Essentially these liners having that Total Dry Pro Plus on the end of the name, the plus being essentially the weight of the liners. These liners have those moisture wicking properties that we're used to seeing. Also, of course, they're going to feature those antimicrobial, antibacterial properties to keep the skates smelling fresh and hopefully lasting longer. But the plus inside the name Total Dry Pro Plus was in association with the lightness of these liners. These being an elite level pair of skates, CCM ensured that they could do whatever they could to ensure the liners were not only durable, protective, comfortable, but also incredibly lightweight. Now, when we look at the liners that are featured on the FT6 Pros, these are also CCM's Total Dry Pro Plus liners, but they also feature Polygene. Now, this is something that we looked at on the original video of the ASV Pros against their predecessors, the AS3 Pros. The Polygene is a separate company, similar to what CCM have done with D3O, where instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, try to find a better way of managing bacteria buildup and odor inside the skates liners, they just went to some experts that already do that and partnered up with them. CCM is notorious for doing this, and they always do a phenomenal job of finding partnerships that really complement the equipment that they manufacture. CCM and D3O Goo that we've seen a bunch of times on this channel, and now CCM with Polygene liners. That is essentially going to help to battle the bacteria that builds up inside the skate, that odor, to keep the liners lasting longer, smelling fresher, essentially helping the skate to perform for a longer period of time while you have the best possible experience inside them. But now, in addition to that, these liners are completely different to what we've seen previously. These liners, aside from them being CCM's Total Dry Pro Plus, they also have seamless comfort. Essentially what CCM have done here is with the comfort pads along the top of the neck of the skate that protect you when you're turning sharp, stopping aggressively, so the top neck area of the skate doesn't dig into your foot or the sides of your leg. These liners over here are completely seamless. Now, what I mean by that is when we look inside the liner, normally what we would see is of course, the liner, all of the foams where your ankle bone would rest, and as you come up, those foams would start to thin out, and then you would have the bulking of the top of the neck of the skate where the comfort pad would be featured. Now with the FT4 Pros, what we had with those comfort pads was an injected comfort pad over here. And when we look at the liners inside here, you can essentially see where the foam liner, where it's nice and soft, ends. There's a bit of a dead zone where there's no padding, and then you have the comfort pad itself, the injected comfort pad, like we saw in the FT4 Pros. Now with the FT6 Pros, CCM have done something completely different, where the liners themselves completely extend up and over into the comfort pad. When you feel it without looking, you can't actually discern where the foams and the liner of the inside of the skate ends and the comfort pad begins. This has had a monumental effect on the comfort inside these skates. Regardless of how long you're on this ice for, if it's half an hour, 3 hours, 4 hours, these are some of the most comfortable retail skates I've ever worn in my life. The seamless comfort liners that they've added to these skates have made such an improvement on the general experience and fit that you have inside these skates. In addition to this, there's also the addition of an EVA layer to help with the fit and the comfort of these skates. These liners are a serious upgrade from what we see in the FT4 Pros. Like I said at the start of this video, CCM weren't playing around with these skates. They have made so many changes, it's not fair to say that this is just an upgrade. This is essentially a completely new skate construction that is named the Jetspeed. When you put these boots on, they don't feel anything like what you experienced in the FT4 Pros. I don't mean in terms of the performance on the ice. That, of course, is going to have some similarities, them both being from the Jetspeed family, but it feels like another manufacturer has made these skates. I've never seen CCM make such a large change from old to new, as much as I see it with the FT4 Pros and the brand new FT6 Pros. This new liner is going to be a massive game changer for anyone that's going to be picking up these skates, either the FT6 Pros or even the models below. Massive, massive upgrade with the new liners of these skates. Now, of course, in addition to the monumental upgrades in terms of the tech and the design of the new liners, the foams inside these skates are also, in my opinion, nowhere near as dense as what we see in the FT4 Pros. These are a little bit softer to the touch if you're to squeeze them, but the wrapping that you have around your foot, the heel lock that you get inside these skates, and of course with that new game ready fit straight out of the box, these skates really do eliminate any negative space inside them and allow you to have a very snug, secure fit inside these boots. The way that impacts you on the ice is that you just feel better connected with the skate. It feels like more of an extension of your leg than what we see with the FT4 Pros, but more importantly, because of that new tongue, the new tendon, also the height of the new boot cut, how the neck of the skate on the FT6s sits just a little bit higher than the FT4s, it just allows you to feel like you're more secure inside the skate, more stable, more planted. You have more of the skate in contact with your foot. In other words, this just results in you being a lot more connected with the skate and being able to maneuver on the ice with a lot more agility, a lot more control, a lot more stability, but more importantly, because of that new tendon and that new tongue, more speed. A quick look at the footbeds with both of these skates. With the FT4 Pros, CCM gave us their Ortholite ultralight footbeds. Essentially very, very thin, soft to the touch, but there's not a whole lot going on here. Now, when we look at what you get with the brand new FT6 Pros, you're getting the adaptive memory foams planted into the footbed. This, it doesn't sound like it's a big deal, but if you look at the thickness of both of these footbeds, the FT6 footbed is probably 2-3 times thicker than what you see in the FT4 Pros. It's incredibly spongy, incredibly thick. This is going to help with comfort. Of course, you also have a nice bit of like a rubbery texture on the base of the footbed to just help lock your feet in so there's no slippage, whether you like to skate with socks on or just barefoot. This is a nice upgrade with a footbed, very, very thick. And of course, let's not forget to mention that you also have CCM's Orthomove footbeds that allow you to have the arch support insole, so you can essentially change the arch height of the footbed. Those are a lot more of a bulkier construction of a footbed. Essentially, there's just a lot more going on with those footbeds. But straight out of a retail box, I'd be completely happy with these. So hopefully we've broken down all of the differences between the FT4 Pros and the FT6 Pros. Let me know if you're going to be saving money and going for the FT4 Pros, or you're going to be picking up the brand new FT6 Pros. Now, a lot of the times with these videos, I like to let you guys decide if you want to warrant the upgrade to get an FT6 Pro set of skates, or you'd rather save some money and go for the FT4 Pros. In this case, there are just so many changes. Like I said, the skate is a complete redesign from what we saw with the FT4 Pros. There is just a lot going on with the new boots, and this is the only time that I would say upgrading would be worth it. Even if you're in the tax range of skates, I'd be looking at the Jetspeed range of skates purely because of the monumental changes that they've made to the boot. The comfort, I feel, is going to be easily CCM's most comfortable skate that they've ever made that isn't custom. I can't wait to see what the custom versions of these skates are going to look like. I think they are going to, first of all, blow the ASV custom skates completely out the park. I'm very excited to see what those are like, and of course when we get them, there will be a video on those as well. If there's any questions you have about these skates or the previous generation, please comment down below. And of course we're going to be looking at the models below the FT6 Pros as well, and comparing them to these, giving you a bit of feedback about what those are like, because if you have been watching what I use on the ice, I very rarely use top spec skates. I always go for 1 or 2 models down below because I don't need that kind of performance with my hockey ability. But I'm looking forward to showing more insight into that. But leave your comments down below if you have any suggestions of what you want to see next. And take care till next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And a big thank you to CCM for making this video possible. Take care.